I have an $8 shirt in my closet that cost me $4 every time I wore it. I have a $120 jacket that cost me 60 cents. Same closet, same person, same year of purchases. One of these was a great deal. One of these was too expensive. I got it backwards for years. I spent over $2,300 on clothes last year. I did a full audit of my closet, every item, every price, every time I wore it, and discovered that the clothes I thought were saving me money were actually the most expensive things I owned. I'm going to show you the math that changed how I buy everything. By the end of this video, you'll never look at a price tag the same way again. I'm Kai. I make videos about money traps disguised as smart decisions. If you've ever told yourself it's only $15 or I can't afford quality, this one's for you. Let me start with the moment that made me do this audit. I was standing in front of my closet, running late for something, and I said the sentence out loud. I have nothing to wear. My closet was full. Stuffed, actually. Shirts crammed together, pants folded on top of pants, and I was standing there in my underwear, paralyzed, because nothing felt right. That's when it hit me. I don't have a wardrobe. I have a graveyard of impulse purchases, so I did something I'd never done before. I pulled everything out. Every shirt, every pair of pants, every jacket, sweater, and pair of shoes. I made a spreadsheet. 3 columns. What I paid, how many times I wore it, and the cost per wear. Cost per wear is simple math. You take what you paid and divide it by the number of times you wore it. A $50 shirt worn 50 times costs $1 per wear. A $10 shirt worn twice costs $5 per wear. The cheap shirt is more expensive. That's the math nobody does at the register. That's the math I never did until I was staring at a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear. Let me show you what I found. I'm going to start with the worst offenders, the items that look like deals but cost me the most per wear. Item 1. A graphic tee I bought on sale for $8. Original price was $24, so I was getting it at 67% off. I remember feeling smart about this purchase. I wore it twice. Once when I bought it because I was excited. Once more a few weeks later. Then it sat in my drawer. The fit was weird after one wash. The graphic started cracking. It wasn't comfortable enough to reach for when I had other options. $8 divided by 2 wears. $4 per wear. A $4 shirt would have been a reasonable purchase. A $4 per wear shirt is one of the most expensive things in my closet. Item 2. A pair of trendy pants I bought for $22. They were the style I kept seeing everywhere that season. I convinced myself I needed them to update my look. I wore them 3 times. They fit fine, but I never felt good in them. They weren't my style. They were the style. And when the trend passed, I felt weird wearing them. So I stopped. $22 divided by 3 wears. $7.33 per wear. I have dress pants that cost $80. I've worn them to every interview, every wedding, every event for 3 years. At least 40 wears. That's $2 per wear. And dropping every time I put them on. The expensive pants are cheaper than the cheap pants, by a lot. Item 3. A hoodie I bought for $19 because my favorite one was in the wash and I needed something for now. That phrase, for now, has cost me hundreds of dollars over the years. Every time I buy something as a temporary fix, it becomes a permanent resident of my closet that I never actually wear. I wore the hoodie maybe 5 times. The zipper started catching after the second wash. The material pilled. It looked worn out within a month. $19 divided by 5 wears. $3.80 per wear. Meanwhile, my expensive hoodie, the one that was in the wash, cost me $65 4 years ago. I've worn it probably 200 times. That's 33 cents per wear. It still looks fine. The zipper still works. It's actually soft. The $65 hoodie is 11 times cheaper per wear than the $19 hoodie. This is the math that broke my brain. Item 4. A jacket I bought for $35 because the one I actually wanted was $120, and that felt like too much for a jacket. I still remember the moment. I was in the store, holding the one I wanted. It fit perfectly. The material felt substantial. I could picture myself wearing it for years. Then I looked at the price tag and put it back. I can find something similar for less, I told myself. I found the $35 jacket online that night. It looked similar in the photos. Close enough, I thought. Good enough. I wore the $35 jacket about 12 times that first year. By the second year, the lining was tearing at the seams. The buttons felt loose, like they might pop off any day. It didn't keep me warm enough, so I'd layer something underneath, which meant I looked bulky instead of how I'd pictured. $35 divided by 12 wears, $2.92 per wear. The jacket I actually wanted? I eventually bought it a year later, frustrated with the cheap one sitting in my closet, making me feel frumpy every time I wore it. $120. I've worn it at least 200 times over 3 years. That's 60 cents per wear. The expensive jacket costs 1/5 of what the cheap jacket cost, per wear. And here's the part that really stings. I spent $35 on a jacket I didn't love, then spent $120 on the jacket I actually wanted. Total spent $155. If I just bought the good jacket first, I would have spent $120 and skipped the year of settling. The cheap option cost me more money, more time, and a year of feeling like I was wearing the wrong thing. Now let me show you the items that looked expensive but turned out to be the best deals in my closet. Item 5. A plain white t-shirt that cost $32. I know. $32 for a white t-shirt sounds insane. I thought so too. I bought it skeptically, almost as an experiment, because a friend wouldn't shut up about how quality basics changed his life. I've worn that shirt at least 80 times in 2 years. It goes with everything. It fits perfectly. It hasn't shrunk, stretched, yellowed, or fallen apart. Every time I don't know what to wear, I reach for it. $32 divided by 80 wears. 40 cents per wear. I have $5 white t-shirts in the donate pile that I wore 3 times each before they looked like rags. That's $1.67 per wear for the cheap version. The expensive shirt is 4 times cheaper. Item 6. Boots that cost $180. This was the most I'd ever spent on footwear. I agonized over it for weeks. I had the page open in a browser tab for so long it became a joke with myself. I kept closing it and coming back. $180 felt irresponsible. That's not what responsible people spend on shoes, I thought. But I was tired of replacing cheap boots every winter. I was tired of wet socks. I was tired of soles that cracked. So I finally clicked buy with a knot in my stomach, half expecting to feel regret. I didn't. I've worn those boots probably 300 times over 4 years. Fall, winter, spring, work, weekends, travel, rain, snow, everything. They've been resoled once for $40, which felt like a revelation because I'd never owned shoes worth repairing before. Total investment, $220. $220 divided by 300 wears, 73 cents per wear. I have sneakers that cost $50 sitting in my closet right now. I wore them for 1 season, maybe 30 times, before the sole started separating from the upper. $50 divided by 30, $1.67 per wear. The $180 boots are less than half the cost of the $50 sneakers per wear, and the boots are still going. The sneakers are in the donate pile. This is what I mean when I say I had it backwards. Now let me add up the damage. I went through every item in my closet, 114 pieces total. 31 items were worn fewer than 5 times. Combined, I spent $642 on clothes I basically never wore. 23 items were worn 5 to 15 times. Mid-range. Not disasters, but not good investments either. 60 items were worn more than 15 times. This is where the value lives. I spent $1,240 on these, about double what I spent on the rarely worn stuff, but the cost per wear is under $2 for most of them. The pattern is clear. The clothes I spent the least on per item were the clothes that cost me the most per wear. The clothes I spent the most on per item were the cheapest per wear. Here's why this happens. Fast fashion isn't designed to last. It's designed to be cheap enough that you don't think about it. The price is low, so the purchase feels like nothing. $15? That's lunch. That's one drink. That's nothing. Sure, I'll buy it. But the clothes are engineered to fall apart. The stitching is weak. The fabric pills. The fit changes after washing. The colors fade. They know you'll wear it a few times and then buy something else. This isn't a side effect. It's the business model. The business model isn't selling you clothes, it's selling you the feeling of buying clothes. The dopamine hit of a deal, the brief satisfaction of something new. The purchase is the product, not the garment. Meanwhile, quality costs more up front, but it's built to survive. You pay more once, and then you stop paying. The transaction ends. The cheap option keeps costing you. The expensive option stops. That's the inversion nobody talks about. Here's what I do differently now. Before I buy anything, I ask one question. How many times will I realistically wear this? Not optimistically, not if I lost 10 pounds, realistically, based on my actual life. If I can't see myself wearing it at least 30 times, I don't buy it. That's my threshold. Then I do the math. If a shirt costs $45 and I'll wear it 50 times, that's 90 cents per wear. If a shirt costs $15 and I'll wear it 5 times, that's $3 per wear. The $45 shirt is the better deal. This math has completely changed what expensive means to me. Expensive isn't the price tag. Expensive is the cost divided by the use. A $500 coat you wear every day for 10 years costs $50 a year. A $100 coat you replace every year costs $100 a year. The $500 coat is half the price. I've also learned to recognize the lies I tell myself. I'll wear this to the gym. No, I won't. I have gym clothes. I don't need more gym clothes. This would be perfect for that trip. What trip? I don't have a trip planned. I'm inventing a scenario to justify a purchase. It's on sale. Sales are how they make you feel smart about buying things you don't need. A 50% discount on something you wear once is still 100% waste. I need this for work. Do I? Or do I already have 7 things that work for work? Every cheap purchase I regret started with one of these lies. Let me give you the final numbers. Total spent on clothes last year, $2,312. Amount spent on items I wore fewer than 5 times, $642. That's 28% of my clothing budget, essentially thrown away. Clothes I bought, wore once or twice, and then ignored every time I opened my closet. $642. That's not nothing. That's a month of groceries. That's a weekend trip. That's money that could have been invested, compounding, growing. Instead, it's sitting in my closet, depreciating to zero. If I had spent that $642 on fewer, better items, things I'd actually wear 30, 50, 100 times, my cost per wear across the entire closet would have dropped by over 40%. The math is brutal and simple. I spent $642 to fill my closet with things I don't wear. I could have spent $642 on a winter coat I'd wear for a decade, boots I'd wear for 5 years, and basics that would outlast everything else I own. Same money, completely different outcome. But here's the part I didn't expect. The cost wasn't just financial, it was mental. Every morning, I stood in front of a closet full of clothes I didn't trust. Clothes I'd bought but didn't love. Clothes that fit weird or felt cheap or reminded me of a version of myself I was chasing instead of the person I actually am. I wasn't getting dressed. I was sorting through regret. And over time, I stopped trusting my own judgment. I'd see something I liked and think, "You'll probably screw this up too." I'd stand in a store holding something that actually fit and talk myself out of it, because I'd trained myself to believe I couldn't be trusted with clothing decisions. Fast fashion took my money. It took my confidence. It made me worse at knowing what I actually want, because everything I bought was a compromise, and compromises don't teach you anything about yourself. That's the cost that doesn't show up in any spreadsheet. Here's the rule. I wish I'd learned earlier. The price tag is a lie. It tells you what something costs to buy, not what it costs to own. A cheap item you never wear costs everything you paid. A quality item you wear for years costs almost nothing. Stop calculating cost per purchase. Start calculating cost per wear. Your closet isn't a collection of deals. It's an investment portfolio, and every item that sits there unworn is a loss you're carrying. A loss that gets heavier every time you look at it and choose something else instead. I have a closet full of cheap clothes that cost me a fortune and expensive clothes that were practically free. The $8 shirt was a waste. The $120 jacket was a steal. I just needed 5 years and a spreadsheet to finally see it clearly. But here's the thing. I can't get those 5 years back. The $642 is gone. The clothes are still there, hanging in my closet, unworn, reminding me every morning of decisions I can't undo. You probably have a closet like mine, full of things you bought because they were cheap enough to not think about. Things you've worn once or twice. Things you skip past every day on your way to the same 5 items you actually trust. That closet is already full of sunk costs. The question is whether you keep adding to them. If this breakdown changed how you think about clothes, subscribe. I make videos about the money traps that feel smart until you do the real math. The math nobody does at the register. Until they're standing in front of a full closet with nothing to wear.